part two would be my experience at Contact in the Desert, and I'll talk about what happened to me and what happened with one of my sessions with the Crystal Skull. So
Yeah.
the thing that started it all. And so don't get upset if there's no channeling. Just give us some time. Because last time you were
I get it.
upset, they're like, "Where's the channeling from Daniel? Where's the channeling?"
Love to bring it in. I can't
That will
wait.
be next week. So right now we talked about Tracy's trip to Egypt and Sedona, a little bonus footage.
Yeah.
And now we're going to talk about Contact in the Desert. So this is going to be part two of the video. So if you're watching part two, there is a part one where part one talks about Tracy and part two talks about me with Contact in the Desert. This was probably kind of like my second UFO type of, with third, if you with the secret space program, I went to that. So this was kind of like my third conference like this. So I never thought I would go to Contact in the Desert, but I figure if I was going to do it, I might as well do it now where I have the opportunity to do it. Because with plane tickets, hotels, and so on, because you want to stay on the resort, it gets kind of pricey and everything, food and everything else gets a little bit pricey too as well. So I figured if I'm going to do this event, I might as well do it now. And then Sarah was there as well, and she was one of the speakers. I'm like, perfect opportunity to go just to see what happens, what I can gather from it, and
Yeah.
also to see if there's any opportunities for me on the back end for, Guardians of Magic and so on. And also, when I booked it, I didn't know the Crystal Skull was going to be there. So, and I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting. The Michael Hedges Crystal Skull, the famous Crystal Skull that a lot of people know about. So I'm like, well, that's cool. But even when I booked the tickets for Contact in the Desert, I didn't think I would book a session with the Crystal Skull. I was like, I thought it would be like a conference, like you book it as a group kind of thing. That's what I was thinking. I did not
Mhm.
know it was like one-on-one sessions. So anyway, I'm at Contact in the Desert now. I'm there, not knowing nobody, nobody. I'm there all by myself. I didn't know anybody. And first night, I kind of like talked to a couple people, nothing really hit off. And then second night, I kind of like, well, let me just keep talking to people, sit down. There's people that you recognize, but they're working and, you don't want to aggravate them too much kind of thing or say anything much. But I was like, let me just talk to whoever, grab a couple of beers and talk to whoever. And I'm sitting down and I see this guy with two GoPros, and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna break the ice with this guy." I said, "I know a little about the GoPros." I was like, "I think this is a video audio guy." I was like, "I know a couple of things." So I'm talking to him, and this guy is sweating. He looked like he was outside all day. He looks rough, and I'm drinking my cold beer, and I'm talking to him about the GoPros, and you can kind of tell he didn't want to talk to me. But he closed the tablet, closed it up, and he puts it to the side and he starts talking to me. He starts asking me questions and stuff like, "Hey, what brings you here?" And I tell him, "Oh, I'm Jason. I'm with QRE Network. This is what it's all about for QRE Network." He goes, "Wow, really? Okay." So he's like, "I'm going to be honest with you. This is my first conference. This is the very first thing I've ever been to. I don't believe in UFOs. I don't believe in aliens and so on." And I said, "Oh boy, here we go." He goes, "So you tell me what you think about it, and I'll tell you what I think about it." And I was like, "Well, look, I don't think we're alone in the universe. I think, there's a lot of missing history of our time, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "I'm a big fan of Atlantis information, ancient Egypt. The list goes on and on." I said, "I have a very open mind for a lot of stuff. And I even brought up Tracy. I said, even Tracy, she's like a resident channeler on the channel. And he goes, "Oh, okay." And I showed him. He goes, "Let me see a YouTube channel." I'm like, "Oh boy." Puts me on the spot. And he pulls it up. He goes, "Oh, shoot, you got more subscribers than what you thought." I said, "Yeah, it's not a lot." He goes, "Shoot, that's more than what I have." And he shows me his, and he has I think like 20 subscribers. And we're joking around about the YouTube channels and stuff. So we are having a good time. And so he's telling me what he does and why he's there. He's like, yeah, I'm doing this. I am the audio and video guy. I'm helping out my guy. He used to be a radio DJ, used to be a radio host, and he's doing a podcast interview and so on. And I'm helping him out. And he's like, I was outside all day. He's like, I'm tired. He's like, I really do need to finish up some work. And I just came here to get a drink or two and just relax. And so, and he goes, I'm glad you sat down. I said, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't gonna bother you, but something just told me I had to just sit here and just talk to you. And he's like, yeah, man, I appreciate it. And he's like, you need to talk to John, the guy that's doing the interview. You have to talk to him. And I said, all right, cool. I would do that and just say hello and everything. So I talked to the guy, John, that has the podcast, and he was telling me about a little bit about Twitter. And then we're sitting there talking. And he asks me questions about stuff like beyond UFO stuff. Because I told him, I said, look, I don't know a lot of the details about UFOs. I don't know details about the documents and FBI files. I said, if you was to talk to me about some metaphysical stuff, some Atlantean stuff, I said, I'm your guy. I said, but if you start talking to me about different cases of UFOs, I said, that stuff I don't know. I'm beyond that. Like, I want to know more. I said, I want to know why the aliens are here. I want to know what they look like. I want to know what messages they have. You know, I said, matter of fact, I'm so interested. I said, Tracy channels an alien on the YouTube channel. He goes, what? He goes, no way. He goes, you're the man that I need to talk to. You're the one that my followers wants to talk to. So we set up an interview. I was the next day at 6 o'clock. So we agreed. We agreed for this. And the next thing you know, he gives me homework the next day. He's like, your job today is get one of the speakers to come with you on to the podcast show. And I said, wait a minute. I said, you can't change the deal on me. So I said, I tell you what, I would get Sarah to come and she would do the interview with me. And he goes, deal. If you can make that happen, deal. I said, all right, cool. So anyway, before we wrap up, I was telling Kent about why I was there, and I also told him about one of the speakers, Sarah. I said, look, I know you're new to this and you probably have a lot more questions and you probably want to know more about the UFO stuff. But if you want to know more about the metaphysical stuff, past life regression, and so on, I said, Sarah is doing a presentation. She's speaking. And he's like, perfect. He made a note of it. He went to go to this speech. He came back from it. He saw me. He's like, Jason, I have to thank you so much for telling me about that. He goes, that was the best thing about the conference so far. That speech, you know, with Sarah speaking up there. And he's like, man, that was so informative. He's like, my mind is blown. And so
Nice.
we're talking to him, and John's behind me. John's like, he's like, this is so cool. This is so perfect. He's like, my friend that I've been knowing for years and years is speaking all this weird shit. And he's like, he never does this. He goes, I'm so happy for him. And so he's telling me all about it. And I told John, I said, John, we're still on for 6 o'clock. He goes, yeah, you better be there. You better be there. I said, all right, cool. So I wind up meeting up with Sarah. And just by chance, I was like, thank God I found you. I said, don't forget, we have the 6 o'clock thing. Because she's busy. She's like
Yeah, it's busy.
she's
I don't
getting
know how she
interviews.
remembers where she's supposed to be and when.
She's
Yeah.
getting interviews. She just left the interview and she's like, oh, she's like, I was like, do you have time for one more? And she goes, yeah, where's it at? I said, well, I don't know where it's at, but I think it's back here. So we go there, we're waiting, and we're talking and so on. And I said, okay. I tell Kent, I said, hey, Kent, Sarah's with me. We're here. And he goes, oh man, he goes, I keep forgetting the UFO guy, but it's a famous UFO guy, Robert DeLong. I don't have the book in front of me, but Robert, this famous UFO guy, happens to sit down and talks to John on the Twitter space live. And the guy, John, he's another big UFO speaker too. He's like, oh, what's going on over here? what's happening over here? And then he sits down as the interview is going on. And I'm like, Kent, I said, it's 6:30, man. I'm like, we're about to do this interview. He goes, oh, I'm so sorry. He goes, he just sat down and everything. He goes, just give me 30 more minutes. So I stalled. We're talking, we're meeting more people as time's going on. I met people from Coast to Coast AM. There's people from other networks and so on. So we're talking to people as
Nice.
things are going on. And I even got a nice, interesting footage clip on Sarah speaking about her new book. So we even talked about her new book that's coming out and some of the things that's happening while she's creating her new book. So I created that video. That's on my Instagram, and I think it's on my YouTube Shorts channel, I think. So we're stalling. Now it's 7:30. And
Mm.
I'm like, Sarah, it's getting late for you, huh? She goes, yeah. She goes, you think they're going to be done in 30 minutes? We're still waiting for this interview to get wrapped up. We're waiting. We're talking to more people as people are walking past. And then Kent comes up to me, goes, listen, I'm so sorry. He goes, I don't think they're going to get done anytime soon. And they got a 9 o'clock. He goes, can you come back at 10? I said, oof, 10 o'clock's tough. So I'm like, look,
Well, I don't
whatever
think
happens,
Sarah back
happens.
there at 10.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to be awake by 10 o'clock. I said,
Yeah.
who knows? I said, look, I will come back. If y'all still here, you're still here. But if y'all still want me to sit down and talk for the interview, so be it. And he goes, okay. Um, so we fast forward. I'm talking to Sarah and we're going over the book. So her new books that's coming out, the fourth one is pretty amazing stuff. And like I can't even wait to see what's up in this book. So we're
Yeah.
talking about that. Now it's about almost 10 o'clock. I was like, let me grab a couple of Blue Moons just to be on the safe side, hang out over there, see if they wrapped up with the interview, and just go out there and see what happens. And he comes, I find him, and he comes to me and he's like, everybody's gone except for the two guys doing the interview. Everybody else is gone. The camera guy is gone, audio guy is gone, everybody's gone. So he's he's walking towards me and I say, hey man, I guess it's over, huh? And done with. He goes, man, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. He goes, we started talking. I said, yeah, man, not a problem. I said, look, I'm here all this week and so on. And we started talking about the show. And then next thing you know, we started talking about past lives. We started talking about this and that. He goes, Jason, he goes, I still have them on Twitter space. There's still 300 people in this space. You can talk to them right now, the information you just told me. And I was like, you sure? It's almost 11 o'clock. He goes, it doesn't matter. He goes, they're already on here. I was like, well, if you're ready, I said, I guess I'm ready. Next thing you know, we go back to the same place where we were. We do an interview. As I'm doing the interview, people are just showing up. They're like, what's going on over here? What's happening over here? They're sitting down, they're listening, and they're like, oh, what's this all? Who is this guy? Because nobody knows who I am. And so these guys are in this Twitter space. It's interesting because they can ask you a question over the microphone, and like there's a coordinator and so on. So they can, and you can hear them on the phone, on the app, and you can hear their question. And it was amazing stuff too, because some of the questions they talked about, they asked about dreams, they asked about source, they asked about past lives. Trying to remember all the questions. The awakening, they were asking about all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, and I was joking around with them. I was like, man, I thought y'all were going to ask me about the UFO files and everything. I said, I thought that's what y'all wanted, not the whole metaphysical stuff. And they're like, no, no. And so we started talking about all that. And as I'm talking about all this stuff, like more people are coming to the location and they're like, and John is like, like, he's like, yes. He's like, yes. He's like, because there was nothing else to do 11 o'clock at night. There was nothing else to do. Now it's about 12 or almost 11:30 at night. So people are like, what's this little event happening? So these
So you
people,
mean the people that were there live?
yeah, that were there live and
Oh.
they were there for the event and so on. So they're just walking the grounds. And as they're walking the grounds, they come into the back part of where the pool is and where the Skywatch was. So people were like, there's nothing else to do. So next thing you know, after my interview wrapped up, people were like telling their stories and everything. They were like, "Oh, I can say something too." And I was like, "Good," because I'm about to wrap this up. I was talking for an hour, explaining as much as I could to answer these people's questions. So next thing you know, other people jumped in and everything. So now I'm listening to their conversations, and so we wrapped up around 12:30. We started wrapping it up, and this guy, I'm like, man, are you going to do this for a living and everything? And he's telling me his plan. So he's buying this UFO mobile tracking vehicle. It's heavy duty, like for like survival prep type stuff. So it's a heavy duty vehicle to go off road, to go
Yeah.
UFO hunting, UFO watching, all kinds of cameras on it, infrared cameras on it, and so on. I said, dude, this thing is decked out. I'm like, you must have spent some money on it. He goes, I did. I did spend a lot of money on it. So he loved everything I said. He's like, Jason, you got to come back. He's like, all the stuff you said was saying amazing. He goes, mind blowing. And as I'm getting interviewed, he's like, oh my God, I'm connecting with all this. Like, I have so much more to say. So he's trying to hold the camera and film me, and he's trying to like, yes, yes, that's exactly what's on my mind. That's on my mind too. So we're connecting. He's like, I gotta tell you so much stuff and everything. Plan out a date, and we exchange phone numbers, we exchange informations and so on. He goes, and I said, where do you see yourself doing this in the future? And he tells me what he wants to do as well. So now we kind of hook up with his story, and he's doing a sci-fi type of fantasy book as well. And I said, wait a minute. I said, that's one of the things I'm working on. I told him, I said, I want to put together my version of a sci-fi action story as well with these characters and stuff like that. And he's like, it was meant to be. He's like, it was meant to be for us to connect. He goes, I knew Kent saw something in you, and Kent knew. So with that being said, he's all excited. He wants to come on the QRE network, and he
Yeah.
wants me to go back onto the podcast for the Twitter space, which was pretty cool. And then the other thing that happened was the Crystal Skull. So I had a session with Mitchell Hedges, Crystal Skull, the famous one, and Bill was there as well. So he's the keeper of the skull. So I was getting ready for my session. I'm there. Bill does his thing. So Bill's doing energy work.
You have a picture with this, right?
Yes,
So
I
you
do.
put that picture up so everybody
Yes,
can.
I do have a picture with the skull, but I'm not holding it or touching it at this moment. So at first we started doing energy work, and we started going through all the steps that he wanted to do. And then I tell him, I'm like, am I allowed to touch the skull? He goes, hold on, wait. Not too soon. Let's do the cleansing first. And I was like, all right, cool. Cause I'm like, when
My
am I
hands
gonna,
full on that.
yeah, let's see what kind of awakening I'm gonna have. So I'm there, he's doing his work. Now I finally get to touch the skull, and he's telling me different things. I did not know I could record the session, and I probably got about 7 or 10 minutes of the session, which was okay because the first part was energy work. It was put your hands like this, breathe, all that stuff. So the first session was a little bit of, there was not much to it.
Yeah.
So there was a lady there. I think her name was Elizabeth or Catherine, I think. She was there, and she was the one that was doing the readings. Whatever came up, she was doing the readings. So the first thing she says, all right, you're Palladian. I started smiling. I started laughing. I was like, yeah, Tracy told me that,
Yes.
plus someone else. I was like, wait till I tell Tracy. I said, yeah, she just called it. She's like, you're Palladian. She goes, you have a lot of Palladian energy. You've had multiple lives in the Pleiadian system. So I'm like, yep, yep, yep. I said, Tracy nailed that one from the very beginning. I said, kudos to Tracy. And I started laughing. And I told her, she goes, yeah. She goes, and then Bill's like, yep, yep, she knows. So then after that, she's like, you have a guy that is trying to connect with you more and he wants to connect with you and so on. I said, well, who is this guy? You know, what does he want to guide me to? And he says, well, he is a wisdom keeper. He's the keeper of knowledge, and he is from the Palladian system. He's been with you ever since you has been little, and he wants to connect with you more to share the information that you need on the projects that you're working on. I started kind of smiling again. I said, oh yeah. I said, evidently I love to work on projects, evidently. So I'm smiling. And so she's like, oh, so you can relate to this. I said, yeah. I said, you're doing good. You're doing real good. So she's telling me what he looks like. He looks like a tall being. He's bald, looks kind of human, handsome kind of thing. So I said, okay. He's on the Council of 12, and we talked about the councils and everything. We talked about the 12th dimensions and stuff. So he's part of that. I said, all right, well, if he wants to connect with me, he can have my phone number, my email address. He like tell him to call me. So everybody started laughing in the room. Like we because they're like, yeah, you know, you never know with technology nowadays. Technology, who knows what can happen going forward. She's like, I had some weird experiences. Then after that, so the information he wants to give me is the project that I'm working on, you know, the knowledge and so on. And she said that even that information can lead to technology and energy and so on. She's like, it's up to you what you decide to do with that information, how you want to pursue it. She's like, oh, she's like, he's telling me something else. This information will help you buy this thing that you want to buy. And she's like, he's saying speedboat. And I started laughing. I said, oh my. I said, well, that's kind of funny. And she's like, I think he's trying to say speedboat. I said, well, I don't know if it's a speedboat, but I guess you could call it a speedboat. I said, but there is a wave runner on my wish list that I would like to buy. And they were like, oh, no way. I was like, I guess you could call that a speedboat. They're like, yeah. They're like, that's crazy. And then Bill chimed in. Bill, he's the keeper of the skull. So he was saying I had a past life with Leonardo. So I was either a student or associate of his or something. So evidently I used to work with him, he told me. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. That's new. And that's kind of funny. I said, that's cool. I said, I do like information about Leonardo. Don't ask me why. And he goes, well, that might explain a couple of things.
Might some dots.
And so you mentioned that, and then I will play the session after this. So I will play that session. But yeah, that was pretty cool with the skull and everything. As all this is happening, I'm able to hold the skull, I'm able to touch it, and they're taking pictures and I think it's on the video as well. But if not, they'll take a picture and they'll try to say, you know, like, do you see this in the picture? Do you see that in the picture? And so on. And I was like, okay, I kind of see what they're trying to say. Like, if you look into the crystal skull, you see this and this and so on. But yeah, that was very interesting what was coming from it when Bill was having it. So, and I'm there and I'm trying to suck up every minute. So I'm just trying to do energy work. I'm trying to connect to the skull. I got my crystals out next to it. I was like, you know, I'm letting the energy flow from my left hand to my right hand and let the energy flow. So that was pretty neat about those couple of things with that. And it was very interesting. It wasn't a cheap session at that. You know, it cost a pretty penny to do this session. And it was pretty cool to hear a lot of that information of what they were talking about, you know, like the Palladian thing and so on.
Validating. And
she's like, I'm trying to get a name. He won't give me his name. She keeps saying that he wants to connect with you. And I was like, well, look, let's be honest. What do I have to do? And they were giving me advice and they're like, do you meditate? I was like, oh man, that's a little hard for me. I was like, I ain't even gonna lie, that's a little hard. And so Bill was like, well, what about a walking meditation? I said, well, I kind of do that. And I said, I have done that before. He goes, yeah, you could do it like that. It kind of gets my mind off of things kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it kind of
I'd say
distracts
go
my
do
mind.
the dishes or go vacuum or go do
Yeah.
something where you're occupied, but then you're in your head. Yeah.
Hmm. So with that being said, everything was cool. We talked about a couple of things, and I asked Bill some questions about some information as well. And so it was nice to connect with him, and um for the older videos back in the day, we brought up crystal skulls, I believe, in one of our older videos. But I was telling Bill, I said that was one of the things that led me to this whole awakening kind of thing. I said because I was able to read Karen's book about crystal skulls. I said, but I never thought I would have a session with one. And I didn't even think I would be able to see it. He
Yeah.
goes, oh, well, shoot. So it was very perfectly kind of planned. And when I left there, I felt like a connection was made kind of thing. And I felt like more focused on what I need to do in the future kind of thing. And things I was been working on, like I'm kind of like on the right path. So
Yeah.
continuing on with, QRE Network, yeah, talk about Atlantis stuff and combining that information with aliens, UFOs, Atlantis, ancient Egypt. Like it's all connected. I was trying to keep it separate. So I was reconfirm, keep the QRE network stuff together, and that sci-fi action story with Guardians of Magic would be over here. So keep that project going. So I'm gonna skip a little bit and fast forward because I know we're running out of time. I'm talking to another speaker. So I'm talking to a speaker. I don't know if what I can share and not share. But what was interesting is that I went from a day of not knowing anybody to the next day, like, oh, shoot, what did I do? This is not as fun as I thought, to like
Oh,
that night, everything clicking. The next day, everything's clicking again to where that the third day, I believe it was the third day, all these connections were being made. I was talking to Paul Hynek. I was talking to his
oh,
brother, where I was asking him about Project Blue Book, the documentaries, like they were going to come back out. We're talking about the JFK thing, how that was interesting, and I was telling him my viewpoints of what Dolores Cannon was saying about JFK. He goes, "Man, that's real interesting." And he was telling me about the project. He works with the movie companies and so on. So I'm meeting all these individuals. It was pretty cool to meet all these people and get all these different connections and so on. And so I'm talking to one of the speakers, and they're like, "Oh, I need help with this things I got going on. Like I'm so busy. I got these things happening. I just need somebody to do this, this, and this, take pictures, take videos, take, media stuff." And I'm like, well, that's kind of like what QRE Network was meant to be. I was like, to be more is to be like a voice for practitioners, QHHT practitioners, or whoever, speakers, and so on, to be that voice for them to help build their name, build their clientele, build their media empire, whatever. So that's kind of like what it was started to be. That was the plan. And they were like, oh my gosh, they're like, I need to talk to you more and everything. So, and I was like, hey, if you're willing to cover the expenses, I won't charge per hour, but if you're willing to cover the expenses of it for these events and for these shows, then, you know, I can be that media person for you, that audio, video type of guy. I was like, you just tell me what you're looking for, and I'll see if we're on the same page. And then I was like, all right. It was very cool to have those connections being made. So I'm telling Kent the next day of what happened. He's like, dude, that's awesome. He goes, that is great. He goes, dude,
yeah.
he's like, that's a big feather in your cap. And I was like, yeah. I was like, because, I still want to, even though I'm going to start pursuing more of the Guardians of the Magic and then these Comic Cons and sci-fi cons and so on, pursuing that avenue, but also still have a hand on, the UFO community, metaphysical community, and so on, on the side. I said, it would be nice to get some of that stuff covered on the cost, because sometimes that stuff's like $2,000 a pop with the plane ticket, hotel rooms, and so on.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so John finds out about it, and John's like, dude, he goes, man, he goes, we're going to make so many more connections and everything. So he's all excited. And I said, well, I'll put it out there. I threw out the information. He said, whatever happens, happens. It was pretty cool. A lot of things happened.
Sounds neat. Yeah.
That last couple of nights, a lot of things started clicking. Whereas the first couple of nights, I'm like, this is not what I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Feeling
It
disappointed.
went from here, like just coasting along to like, whoop, just hopping up,
I think it's because maybe you weren't supposed to, like before you were going to bring Sarah in on that interview. I think it needed to be focused on you. We're going to have a little
The
cat
little
fight.
cats in the background.
Yeah, they're not getting along, so we'll see what happens with that. But I like that it got to be centered on you and
11 o'clock
your
at night.
voice. Yeah, you got to have your voice, and we all know Sarah, and we don't all know you the way that I mean, you got all this knowledge, but you're always the interviewer. So how fun to be the one being interviewed this time, so we can all get to know Jason a little better.
Right.
Awesome.
Right. And that's part of what it was all about. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I'm glad you brought that up. That was one of the things that Bill was talking about with clearing the throat chakra.
Oh, cool.
So he says, yeah, you it's not blocked, but you got a little bit of something going on. You're holding back something. He goes, let me release this for you. And I was like, sure, Bill, do it. But it was pretty cool to see this guy. He wants to work more and more together with his comic thing, the YouTube channel. And I told him, I said, he wants a business partner. And I told him, I said, I don't know if you need a business partner. I said, I think you just need a consultant or just a guide to help you start. I said, but I don't think you need a business partner. And I think that's what he's used to. But hopefully this guy, I mean, he has a ton of potential with so much stuff. Like the guys he was interviewing and so on were just like, he wound up getting a media badge that day at the conference where people were getting their media badges taken away. And he would wind up getting one where other people were getting theirs taken away for violations or whatnot, or they thought maybe that you should never put out media badges kind of thing. It was very interesting. And then us working together, we wound up connecting. We wound up going to lunch that day, making some connections. And so
That's really cool.
Should be interesting what happens going forward.
Yeah, I think big changes are in the air everywhere you look. So I like that good fortune's coming. You're going to get your little, what is it called? Your little boat thing.
Oh, jet ski or wave runner? When she said that, I was like, no way. I had a smile from cheek to cheek, and I was like, no way. She's like, yeah, he's calling it a jet boat. I was like, well, I wouldn't call it a jet boat, but I know what a jet boat is.
Yeah.
But when she said that, Bill was like, wow, like that was good. Yeah, we should see what this Palladian Wisdom Keeper is. And I will share the video after this. I think it's about 7 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
Of the conversation. What's that?
That's a good number. It's a path number, 7.
Yeah, if it is 7 minutes, I think it is. So the only reason why I think it's 7 minutes because when I saw the video, it said 7:47.
Oh, even cooler.
Yeah.
Goals and 7s.
And that's why I think that the video is 7 minutes long. So it was a 30-minute session, but I wind up getting 7 minutes out of it. But like I said, the first part is energy work, where they do the energy work, the breathing, releasing, and so on, chakras. But yeah, so I went from hardly nothing happening the first night, hardly anything happening the second night to like
just
everything clicking. And then that night we wind up still talking to 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So the interview went on, you could say.
That's
So
pretty
he's
amazing.
like, you know so much stuff and blah blah blah. He's like, besides all this UFO crap and all this other stuff at the conference, he's like, stuff about YouTube that I don't know. And he's like, we need to connect more. I was like, let's do it, man. And I told him, I was like, look, I'll help out wherever I can. I was like, we'll connect and we'll do more things. I told him if he could do Zoom, an interview on Zoom, we can collaborate. I said we can do the Twitter space as well. Even me and Tracy could do this Twitter space, and it's pretty neat. So all you need is a phone, an app, and that's it.
Oh,
That's it. That's all you need. And a Twitter account, and that's it.
okay.
So,
Well,
I don't know
like
if it works on the
getting a
computer.
following over there.
Yeah. I guess you can listen to it on the computer, I guess, but
Hmm.
John kept on saying that it works best on the app, the Twitter Space app. It's
Probably easier
interesting.
to connect on that. Yeah.
On top of all that goodness, my plane was delayed at every stop going to Contact in the
So,
Desert. Like, like it did not want me to go. It was
yeah.
delayed so much they canceled one of my flights. It was delayed so
Really.
much.
Wow.
And I was on the phone with the lady for Southwest saying, I'm at the airport right now. I'm about to get out of the car. And she's like, run to the front desk and get the 4 o'clock right now. And
Hmm.
they wind up switching me. At first, they didn't know what I was talking about. And then the guy saw it. He's like, okay, I see what's going on. Switch me. And then I was back
Wow.
moving forward. But yeah, very interesting. It was definitely a challenge to get there, that's for sure. So,
Sounds like you're being activated and put into play.
something was going on.
Yeah, I
But
like it. It's good news.
but
I like it.
yeah, so hopefully that was enough information. I don't think I was forgetting anything else from Contact in the Desert, but it was very interesting to listen to these people and listen to the speakers. I got to listen to Jason Mortel, by the way. He's a UFO Ancient Aliens person.
Oh,
So I was
cool.
able to listen to him speak and William Henry. But yeah, that was pretty neat. Oh, I did my first remote viewing thing.
Oh, how did that go?
It went pretty neat. I'm usually not good at it. And I was like, I'll just do it anyway. Why not? We did it as a group. So we did Sirius B, and she said, describe what the planet looks like. And I said, oh, I'm going to put blue. And then I said, I'm going to put white clouds. Blue planet with white clouds, very little land. And then we went on to the alien beings. With that being said, I went straight to amphibian beings, and I was writing down what they look like as amphibian beings. Just
Hmm.
whatever came to mind. I'm following instructions. She's like, write down whatever comes to mind. And so once we were done, she was like, okay, everybody share what they had. Sure enough, blue planet, white clouds, and very little land
Hmm.
as a group. And people, and like Kent was in that class as well. And Kent had a blue planet with a lot of water, gray clouds, white clouds, same thing. And the only difference was I had amphibian beings and the majority of the other group had energy beings, like light beings.
Oh,
That these were tall light beings on the planet. And I was like, hey,
so did
that's
yours have the little suction cup fingers? The little suction cups at the end of the fingers?
no, in my mind, how I was seeing it, not that I was paying attention to their fingers, but maybe they could have had them, but they had, the fins kind of thing, the
Hmm, the webbed
things on their
fingers.
hand,
Yeah.
the web fingers,
Hmm.
and kind of gills. They kind of look like the creature from the Black Lagoon kind of style, you
Yeah. Okay.
know. That's kind of like what came to mind. And then there was like a pinkish one and then a darker color one. So that's what came to my mind. And I'm just writing it down. And I I don't think anybody had that. But what was interesting that multiple people had the light beings. Like,
Nice. Yeah.
so, it kind of made you wonder, like what are the odds that all these people start talking about like, oh, that's what I had written down too, was these energy beings. And a lot of people had the blue planet with
Yeah.
the white clouds. And so, and that was in Carolyn Corey's session. So that was her group thing, her speak.
The water planet comes up a lot in
Yeah.
questions for me. And actually Julia Cannon, one of her favorite lifetimes is the water planet.
Yeah. So Kent, the one that never been to one UFO thing, doesn't know nothing about all this, did not know what remote viewing was. He comes to me, he goes, dude, he goes, can you believe that stuff that came out of that session and everything, that group, that conference and everything? He goes, that's what I had. I had that. I was like, no way, Kent. I said, no way. I said, you don't believe in none of this stuff. He goes, that's what I had. He goes, man, he goes, my mind is blown. He goes, Jason, you have no idea how much my mind is blown. I said, Kent, this is all good, brother. This is funny.
Yeah, let it begin. Let it begin.
So,
It's
but it was
awesome.
nice. It was very, very interesting. So, and another thing, I was able to meet some people from Alabama and got to get their take on it. And I was able to see where people stood with everything. Who was more on the UFO facts and figures, and then also if they were more into the woo-woo stuff, the metaphysical stuff. And it was very interesting to see where people were. And a lot of people were more just like, hey, show me the facts, show me what's out there, what's being
Which
revealed.
I would think that would the contact in the desert's kind of been like that, right? Like here's
Yeah, this
video
is what we're working on.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of geared that
Here's a
way.
document,
Yeah. So
don't tell me about who saw
funny.
aliens, even though they were open-minded to all the conversations. They were like very open-minded to all the stuff, but to all the other, you could call it woo-woo stuff, they're like, look, that's where we draw the line. And you had people like that. So that was another reason why I went out there, just to get a feel for what they were thinking and
Yeah.
how they were looking at the stuff. So
Yeah.
it was interesting. It was a lot of people that was first time at Contact in the Desert too. So that was their first time.
Yeah. I haven't been to that one yet, but it sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we made it. I know it's getting
And-
late. I can see it in
Yeah.
Tracy's
I'm
eyes. You
getting
probably see it in my
messages
eyes.
over here. My phone's lighting up with, where are
Feed
you?
me, feed me. Where are you? Why are you not helping us
Yeah.
out? So
Yeah. And
with
my bad. I thought we'd be done about an hour ago, so they're all wondering where I'm at.
I'm
But
sorry.
no. This has been great because I love hearing about your experience and I know that we'll get to do this again next week too. And
Yes, so give us some
if the
time. We'll
channels,
get the next video out next week. So
Yeah.
we'll take care of these two videos. This is part 1 and part 2. So Tracy has part 1 with the trip to Egypt. I have part 2 with the trip to Contact in the Desert. So I know. Sounds creepy, huh?
It does. If you say it that way, it kind of does. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Evidently, it used to be in
pretty
the
exciting.
desert.
It almost sounds like you've been through more of a transformation than I did in
I
my.
don't know. My
Maybe
pants,
we're going through
stayed
it.
together.
Yeah.
Nothing happened to my pants.
It's good. We're both in some transformational stuff, which means
Yeah.
our vibrations will continue to work together. It'll be great.
Yep.
I love it.
Absolutely. Cool.
Thank you for
Well,
sharing your story and thank you for having me on.
absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing your story about Egypt and, you know, and congratulations on everything. I'm very proud of you. You got another one coming into Pipeworks. So,
Yeah, there will be
yeah, you're doing big things.
There's going to be an England initiatic path too coming up. So yeah, there's some really
Perfect.
exciting travels coming in, but it's one of those things where I wait for it to actually manifest. But like I said, Laura, the one that I'm doing this with, she's built for this. So she just knows how to throw this stuff together, and I'm very fortunate to get to go along with that. So, but yeah, very cool information on Contact in the Desert. And when the next one comes, I'm sure more people are going to want to go now. And
Yeah. Especially if that client approves everything and she, they like what they were offered, you know?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I said, I have no problems taking pictures and audio and video. I said, I'll bring extra camera equipment.
Cool.
So,
Yeah. That seems like a deal for them.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well,
Thank-
with that being said, I want to thank everybody for listening to the podcast and watching the podcast as well on YouTube. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap it up? Before all the
I don't
kids
think
come
so.
barging in?
Oh, I'm hungry.
Yeah. Well, go get something to eat and we'll talk later and have a good night.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye,
You're
everybody.
welcome. Bye-bye.
Councils and the Federation councils and all that, they are celestial. When they're celestial, they're literally more source oriented, a source literally from God kind of thing.
Okay, so not like the other Council of 12. This is more like the
This is
Council
the
of 12.
this is the celestial council of light of 12. Then, and that's ninth dimension.
Mm,
Then there's a celestial council of light of 24, which is literally the 24th dimension.
okay.
And then that's super ascended masters, that there are only a couple that have actually been here on Earth that are there.
Okay. And he's on the Council of 12,
12. He's on the council
not
of
the
12.
Council of 24.
No, not 24. He's on
Gotcha.
12. 12 has Jesus, Isis, Buddha is there. This guy, and I've seen several other of these very wispy looking people from other planets,
In Chinese mythology, they have these different figures, and it's one of the figurines that you see with the bald head.
Yeah.
So
I can't remember what his name.
Yeah. Well, you have Latsu.
Latsu, Lao Tzu, or however you say his name. I can't remember how you say his name. But he's on the 12. And most of the 12 have their consciousness has been here on Earth as somebody, but they're really from.
Yeah, but they're the ones that are able to interact on the Earth plane.
Yeah,
the
with us
24 is not really able
Yeah,
to
they
get
don't
their
come here.
vibration down to that level.
Yeah.
So it's it's where 12 is the Christ consciousness, and the other
Right.
Buddha consciousness is on that level.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now we're coming together with the spiritual families at this time, because we're getting very close to the ascension, and you people that are here are the ones that have been chosen and agreed to come here to help the world at this time. And each one of them has a special gift that works in alliance with everyone else. So this person can pick you up here, but you could pick them up here. And this one, so it all makes us come together as a spiritual force that we can make that change. And with the only thing that makes the difference, and has what happened in past lives, is everybody was in the game field watching a game instead of getting on the field and playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you take your mind and you get into the fears that they're putting, they're really working to see if they can get you in fear, because that's the negative and positive. They want to hold this world from ascension.
Right. Keep
And
the
that's-
game going.
Keep the game going.
Mhm.
And so it's not like it's an evil thing. It's just that it's their job is to hold everything back. And if they can, then we'll destroy everything and we have to do it all over again, which we've done in the past.
Right.
But we're at a point now where we are getting a lot of the creative beings are coming together, but they have to take their minds, instead of being pulled into the negative, and because once you're pulled in the negative, you create negative. So you have to stay in a center point and then see the things that you want, the peace and joy and happiness for yourself, your family, for the world, fresh, healthy food, healthy water, all the good stuff that you want in your new timeline. And if we work on that together, that timeline, there's nothing the negative can do to stop it, but get us off in fear, and then we're stopping ourselves. So we're coming together, and each one of your gift that you have is bringing this knowledge through.
Right.
And
It's a
you're
piece of the pie, piece of the puzzle.
that's your piece of pie, and as you go into that and bring it through stronger, because it'll, once you start it, it's like the ball starts rolling downhill.
Goes
And-
quicker and quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but it's a joy, because as you do what you're supposed to be doing here and have the gifts and everything to bring out, that there's nothing more happy than that. That's like finding your purpose, you know, and you know what you're supposed to do. So it gives you everything. It gives you happiness, peace, joy, prosperity, but it's just being what you are and bringing that out. So you're at that point to really focus on that, work
Right.
with these masters that are definitely wanting to help you. And without asking, they're not going to help you.
Oh,
So
no, I'll
as
ask.
You asked, you did.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, they have
Absolutely.
permission.
they have permission. Really,
Yeah,
ready for
absolutely.
I
adventure.
can give them my cell phone number, you
Yeah.
know, whatever it
right.
takes.
You know, don't be too surprised. I'm waiting for that kind of thing to start happening. That's
Yeah.
happened to me in the past, where I've literally gotten a phone call and I'm just going, oh my God, I'm talking to somebody's dead. I did it with my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there any other beings, any other
No,
messages?
he's the one you want to talk to.
The Palladian?
Yeah, he is the wisdom keeper. He's the one you
Wisdom
want to talk to.
keeper.
He just said to me, he says, "Thank you. You got that accurately. That's why I'm here. That's what I want to say." There's another little guy who's trying to come in, and he's going, "Well, I want to go too." And I'm going, "You have to go ask the wisdom keeper if you're allowed to come in and play the game. You know, because once you got one coming in, they're all going to say,
Yeah,
well, I want to go
all-
along for the ride."
All that want to knock on the door.
There's
Now take your
another
hands
little
like
guy.
now and pull them towards your heart, and then come back around. This is the energy you've been working on. Pull it towards your heart. Do one more. This time, pull it tight to your heart and hold it really tight. There you go. And just it's like a hug from the skull that will go from the top of your head all the way through you and into the earth. It's coming through with joy, peace, and love. And it's not like you have to push to get this. Just allow it.
Yeah,
It's coming. It's already
It's
there
yours.
for you. It's yours.
yeah.
Okay. So as you just allow, then it'll start unfolding to you.
And are you talking about the energy from the skull?
No, the energy, not just the energy from the skull, but the energy to connect and work with these energy
Okay.
beings.
Yeah, the
Gotcha.
entity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Palladians and so on.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I want to see what happens with his picture.
I'm going to take a picture, and what it is when I do that, yeah, is it ready? Oh,
Yeah, all you have to do is hit that button.
okay. Yeah, what has happened is with the skull, it changes all the time when you're doing this. And so I really like to see what happens. Yeah, so let's see, and if I want to look back to where I was at.